What's going on, everybody? This is Joel Piccolo with Godwin Stone Real Estate, and your go-to source for anything real estate related in the state of Louisiana. So if you're like most sellers, you're trying to take advantage of this crazy real estate market that's going on right now. But you also have some adherences to like getting your house listed on the market, because listing your house is not as simple as you would think. I mean, it can be lengthy, it can be expensive, and you can have some unexpected speed bumps along the way that could ruin the sale. So you're looking at what your options are. And in this video, I'm gonna be talking about one of those options, and that option is iBuyers. So what is an iBuyer? An iBuyer, or an instant buyer, is something that started in 2014 by Opendoor. So generally, iBuyers try to focus on their own algorithms. And those algorithms really focus on properties that are what we call in the real estate industry cookie cutter, or something that is not very complicated. Like you'll see, like a good example in Louisiana is like Victorian houses or Spanish Revival houses. Shotguns would actually fit that cookie cutter mold. Yes, I did a play on words right there. Because shotgun houses are generally simple designed. I mean, they literally, you can see from the front of the house to the back of the house. So shotguns fit that description. So besides being a cookie cutter mold, what they try to focus on is a certain price range, generally between like 150 to 500,000. And the reason that they do that is because the higher in price that you go up, the more complicated it gets on pricing the house. I mean, because you got to think about pools or the appliances. Maybe the seller added a elevator. So that is why they try to stick to more of those price ranges, because it's just easier to price the house. Because remember, they're taking all of that data that they get from the internet and putting it into the algorithm. So the computer at this moment can only take the data that it has to it and be able to make that price. So that's how they're able to come up with the prices that they want. After the iBuyers purchase your home, what they're going to do is that then they're going to fix it up and then put it on the open market and sell it themselves. So the first thing that attracts an iBuyer to a seller is speed. If you were to put your house on the market in a typical average market, so right now we're not in an average market, we're actually in a seller's market. So the average days that you see with people in their houses right now is like literally a week or two. I'm not joking, that's how fast these properties are going. But let's just say we're talking about a fair market. So speed is one of the reasons why that people will choose an iBuyer. So on average, a house will stay on the market for about like 2 months is on average, depending upon the location. So if I was a seller, I would take that into consideration, because I want something that's fast. I want my money now. And the second reason that sellers will use iBuyers is convenience. I mean, just think about the whole process of putting your house on the market. I mean, you gotta do open houses, broker tours, you gotta let people inside your house to take a look. So you have to clean up your house, you gotta make sure it stays clean, you gotta make sure that it's staying its best all the time. So that can be inconvenient to some people. So iBuyers, they don't care about that. All they care about is coming to look at it one time, get their assessments, and then they're gonna get out of there. So convenience is key for iBuyers. The third thing that attracts sellers to iBuyers is flexibility and control. So what do I mean by that is, a lot of times certain people have different situations. Let's go over you. You're selling your home, so you're gonna need to buy another home. Well, what if the market doesn't necessarily have any homes that you really like? So you're gonna be worried about that. Well, iBuyers solve that problem, because you can be flexible with what date you're going to close. You just have to let them know ahead of time, and you just gotta let them know ahead of time, and they'll work with you. And the last thing, but the most important, is certainty. And what I mean by that is that you know that company has the money to buy your property. Some things that can happen with buyers when you're in the open market is that their financing can fall through. I've seen it happen before. I mean, you never know what's gonna happen, because a buyer, let's just say they weren't paying attention or did something dumb. Let's use, for instance, they decided to use their credit to buy a couch in the middle of a transaction. I know you think that's crazy, but it's happened before. Well, that will immediately destroy the loan. And so the buyer will not be able to purchase that home if that were to happen. So stuff like that can happen and have the deal fall apart. And that's why certainty is a huge thing for iBuyers. Well, now that we've gone over the positive or the reasons why sellers like iBuyers, let's actually go over some of the things that you should look out for when it comes to iBuyers. So here are the negatives of iBuyers. Low profit. I mean, I'm starting with that one because that's the most important, because you're trying to make the most money out of it. So just think of it like this. The iBuyers is a company, or think of it as a pawn shop. So the pawn shop has to make money. I mean, they are a business. We have to understand that. So you are not going to make as much as the property that you're trying to sell is worth. So when you're looking at the national average, so let's go over some of the fees that will happen when it comes down to iBuyers. So typically iBuyers would charge 6 to 8% in what they call prepping fees. So what that means is that when they buy the house from you, they have to fix all the stuff that they found wrong with your property and then put it back on the market. And that costs money, so that takes away from their bottom line. So that they typically will charge you about 6 to 8% of the sale to cover those fees. So that is one of the things that will lower your profit. But then you also got to think about this too, is the only fee that a selling agent will give you is their commission. And you know that immediately up front. They're not going to add more fees if there's things that need to be repaired to your house. They're not going to add fees for anything that might come up. They're not going to do that. Once you sign on the dotted line with that listing agreement, you know how much in your fees you're going to be paying to that realtor. So that's one of the negatives of an iBuyer. The second negative about working with the iBuyer is the availability. Right now, iBuyers is not everywhere. I have seen it in Louisiana, so it is over here. I've seen it like every once in a while, but it's not everywhere. So you're very limited on your choices of what you can do because, hey, you might not even be able to take advantage of this. And the other thing about their availability is, I mean, when you have a realtor, that realtor is making a promise that they are at your beck and call, or they are there to answer any questions that you might have. Now, hey, I'm not saying to call your realtor at 12 o'clock at night, but you know that with your realtor that you can do that if you need to. While with an iBuyer, they're not gonna do that. They pay their people hourly and that's it. So you can only call them or talk to them at a certain period of time. To be honest, it really comes down to you and what you need to do. If you're fine with making 13 to 15% less than what you should be making with a real estate agent, then hey, that's you. I don't know your situation. Some sellers are fine with that. It just really depends on you. That is it for my conclusion. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And if you want to see any other videos on like certain topics, please let me know. I will definitely do those videos. Y'all have a wonderful day, and I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.